there Space Cats, it's me Jules, bringing you a bullet journal plan with me for 2020 July. Stick with me to the bitter end and I promise you I will bring you some sunshine. If you just stumbled across the channel, I make videos on drawing, planning and publishing children's books. And with the beginning of every month, I bring you a look at what I'm making in my bullet journal. It's an integral part of keeping me productive and focused and definitely stops me from procrastination. So give me a thumbs up if you want to do the same and make the most of your time. I'm a children's book author and illustrator, so my bullet journal is quite creative too. But seriously, if you are a list maker and having bits of paper all over the house is driving you mad, you need a bullet journal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy if you just want it to be practical. All you need is a notebook and a pen. However, if you want to make this pretty, you might need a few extra supplies, like get yourself some Crayola Supertips, they're really cheap and easy to get hold of, and maybe a fine liner pen. The theme for this month is inspired by my latest book, which is a nature journal. Last July saw the hottest day in the UK on record. So as I've been taking my inspiration from the month in that book, I have chosen the sun as my theme for this month. I did a little bit of research and drawing practice before I started because I just needed to figure out how I wanted the sun to look. So I picked out all of my yellow felt pens. This one is the Staedlter Triplus highlighters, and did a bit of doodling to start with. The circle has these little triangles around the edge and the sun has a lovely happy face and ochre coloured cheeks. For that I also use the Crayola Supertips and the Newdoer Brush pens. It's got quite a graphic-y icon feel to it, a bit like if you were designing some sort of identity for an ice cream factory or company. Doing the lettering is all about practice. I find it easier and easier every time I make lettering, and it really does help to have a pen that you feel comfortable with. For example, I really struggle with using brush pens for lettering, but find the hard-tipped pens much easier. My favourite is the one I'm using here, the Papermate Flair pens. If you use a little drop shadow around your lettering, it just helps the letter to stand out and makes it look like it's floating from the page. Make sure you pick one side and just outline that side, as if it's in shadow. In this case, I'm imagining the light source is coming from the left, so the right side of the letter is in shadow. It's really relaxing to draw freehand like this, not strictly keeping to where the blocks of colours are. I do like this style as if it's almost like a sort of printing mistake. It just feels more informal and it's just part of the charm of the piece really, so don't worry if you make a mistake. Now here's my quote page. Of course it has to have the sun on it. And giving the edge this sort of swirly kind of borderline just makes it feel all relaxed and summery. I do a lot of this swirly line. I just like the sort of decorative feel of it. And then at the bottom I've put some swallows rising up. And I'm really pleased to say that I saw my first lot of swallows from this summer last week. They've probably been here for some time, but I've only just seen them, so maybe they were hiding from me. I'm really obsessed by the birds in my neighbourhood. We have a regular gang of house martins that live in the building that the job centre is in, and I keep spying on them. And I've also had the pleasure of looking after a teeny tiny sparrow that got chucked out of the nest in our roof last week. After a few days of TLC and a bit of food, she was ready to fledge. It was absolutely brilliant. Last year, when we had the hottest day on record, it happened to coincide with us having our one and only bathroom renovated. We were having a shower put in and it took the entire week, so the bath came out, the shower went in, the tiles went up, and of course it meant we didn't have a shower to use. So I resorted to being hosed down in the garden with a cold tap, and after a really hot day it was absolutely lovely. I'm not really sure if having hot summers like this is something to fully celebrate, because it does signify that the climate is warming. I remember when I was a little girl growing up on the mainland of the UK, we used to regularly have snowfall every year, but not really hardly any since I've lived on the Isle of Wight. And although we're an island and we're surrounded by the sea, I know that's going to make a difference, but we really have only seen a little bit of snow in the last few years. And we've also had quite warm summers, but it seems like in recent times we've also had wet, warm winters and really hot summers. So it does worry me slightly, but other than doing our bit with emissions and not using plastics and not using the car unnecessarily, it leaves me feeling a bit helpless really. What about you? This page is a quick glance at the month. It's the first place that I migrate anything from the yearly spread, and I'm marking the weekends with a little dot so I can just see them a bit more easily at a glance. My master task list is just taking up 1 page again this month. Who knows, maybe next month I'll be taking up 2 pages. On this I mark up mostly my work commitments, especially for things like YouTube and my bookwork. It's been a pretty exciting couple of months in terms of my bookwork, because I've been working on a book for De Montfort University and Medina Publishing, and that comes out as a paperback hopefully in the end of September. But plus I've also got some other ideas for books that I want to make for myself as well, so that's something that's going to be coming up probably in autumn, and I've got, my first thing is a sequel to Vincent and the Vampires, so if you're a fan of that book then look out for the sequel. Instead of doing a gratitude page, I'm calling it Enjoying the Little Things, and I think it's going to encourage me to put something down every day. So I've drawn 31 boxes to fill. Instead of, like last month I had to fill in lines of text, I just thought it might be easier just to have one box for maybe one word to put in. It doesn't have to be every single day. Some days I might put a couple of things in 2 different boxes and then maybe none the next day, so a bit less pressure. I've given it a drop shadow to give the box some depth, and the boxes took a little while because I used a ruler. Wow, something that I don't really do much of the time. I'm usually more of a sort of freehand kind of girl. Now, on to the first weekly spread. Like last month, I'm just using 1 page with the left-hand column for appointments and the right-hand side of the page for tasks. The depth was a little bit tricky to work out because it didn't fit nicely when divided by 7, so I've used 6 boxes and called the last one of those boxes both Saturday and Sunday. Oh, and look, I've got all rogue and stopped using the ruler. Ooh, get me, I'm such a rebel. That little strip under each of the boxes is for the meal planner. It's such a brain-saving device at the end of the day when I'm knackered and I don't have the energy to be creative with a saucepan. I've also found it much more cost-effective and saves on food waste when you plan like this. If you have a YouTube channel or rely on social media as part of your work, it's a really good idea to keep track of your statistics. I'm making sure I know what's happening with my subscriber bases, as well as how many students I have signed up to my course down here. Talking of which, if you are someone who has wanted to illustrate a book that you have written, I'll link my course in the description box below. It covers all sorts of useful information, like how to make some key decisions about how the page is going to look, how to make front and back covers, how to get to grips with the tech side, as well as over 2.5 hours of drawing tutorial masterclasses. Next up is a page for notes. Some might call this a brain dump, but I like to call it grasshopper mind. It just feels much more natural to me because of that thing of your mind kind of jumping from one thing to the next. So it's for all that sort of stuff that wakes you up in the middle of the night, or maybe a brilliant idea that you've had that you know you're going to forget unless you write it down. At the bottom of the page is a space for things coming up in August. August! Flippin' heck! We'll be discussing Christmas soon. Nope, let's enjoy the present. I'm going to go swimming in the sea tomorrow. You can't do that at Christmas here. Well, you can, some do, but I'm a total pansy when it comes to cold water, so not me. The next spread is sort of new. I did do one last month looking at the birds I'd spotted. Here it is, and it was so lovely to do that I decided to extend it to plants, animals and birds. So it's a sort of sketchbook really. I saw a peregrine falcon in the forest a couple of weeks ago. I'd better get him in there. Wow. Here's the flick through. Say hello to your notebook and get yourself ready for July. Stick a comment in below and tell me what is your biggest procrastination. Sometimes I find myself scrolling through social media looking at stupid adverts or someone's latest lockdown crochet idea. Make sure that you subscribe and ding the bell next to it, and then you will get notifications when I upload my next video, which is on lettering next Friday. Yep, join me next week if you want to find out about lettering and how to get it onto your computer. Until then, I will be knitting swimwear out of spaghetti. I'll see you next time. Nanu nanu!